story of the tractors. When they were preparing the land for the communities, the Farmers Association that was developed said, well, why don't we use the funds to buy tractors, and then the ownership of the tractors stay with the community instead of outsourcing it to some other contractor who would develop the land on their behalf. And so this was one of the special reasons of Maguga, was that the community were able to negotiate to making their compensation packages much stronger. There was a relatively small number of households resettled, 90 in total, and about 125 households affected.
Indeed, in the policy, there was this provision that if someone did not want to go to the host area, he may take what we call free choice. And the person, the value of his homestead and the value of his fields was worked out and was given to him in cash. Fortunately, I was tasked myself, or I forced myself to sort of make sure that those people do build their homestead. And I was responsible to make sure that they've got the papers and that they were given pieces of land and that they established their homesteads. And I was visiting them once a week while they were still busy with their homesteads, just to make sure that they definitely establish those homesteads. This dispute resolution committee, which was appointed, its role was to sort of help the people that had complaints, people who felt they were not treated fairly. And this dispute resolution committee used to come out with some solutions. Yes, they were independent. Many complaints. Some were talking about blasting, where people felt their blasting damaged their houses. Some felt that their fields were not done properly. Some felt there was too much noise. Now they've got roads next to their homesteads. You know, there were so many things. Yes, it was fair. That dispute resolution committee could have been done better. The committee itself, if it had involved, you know, I'm talking about people who had a lot of know-how, you know, because when you talk about blasting, for instance, and only to find that you cannot measure the noise, and you've got no expertise of measuring the noise, you know, that becomes probably a problem in my understanding.
Oh, you are making
yeah, it is better off than it was before. I've got a garden and I've got a spaza which I will increase in the future.
Yeah, they have electricity. They didn't have electricity before. No, but she diversify energy uses. She's still like using firewood. Because if she was only going to use electricity, her bill would go up.
Green paper. I've got another garden opposite my homestead, and I sell all the produce that I get from that garden. Here, I use it for domestic purposes. and they are now bearing fruit, and we are selling them as means of getting a living. Wow. Sakhoni.
Kusete. Labo makhelwane sisavana nabo kusete sehlukana.
So far we haven't got problems, and we interact nicely with our neighbors, and so far so good.
The main thing which we thought could have been done is to empower the people so that people could be able to participate effectively when it comes to the discussions about their livelihoods. When I talk about empowering the people, I mean to say, for instance, this was the first thing to happen in Swaziland. And amongst us, nobody had an experience. Had the government sent some people to some other countries where they'd done or where people were involved in a project similar to this one, only for empowerment purposes.
Some of the recommendations proposed by Dr. John Ramonda and Reverend Stina at the WCD Symposium in 2001 included the following: the need to enhance institutional capacity, the need to empower all parties that are part of the dam building process, including government, communities, project managers and consultants, the need for training to be based on the WCD guidelines, the structures, responsibilities and conflict resolution mechanisms need to be agreed during the need assessment stage and not later on when the problems start occurring, and that affected communities should be seen as project beneficiaries. The key recommendation they made at the time was that Southern African countries should legislate that their environmental impact assessment procedures for dams should follow the WCD guidelines. Indeed, in conversations with Enoch Dlamini from Kabwe, the Komati Basin Water Authority, he emphasized the need for very robust institutional arrangements, especially when it's between two countries, South Africa and Swaziland, and that the WCD guidelines were very, very helpful in building the Maguga Dam, as well as being able to learn from similar experiences in Southern Africa. He highlighted the Lesotho Highlands Water Project and the Driekopies Dam. Both their successes and their mistakes were incorporated in the planning for the Maguga Dam. And the last thing that he mentioned was the need or the importance of benefit sharing, where being able to use indigenous knowledge systems actually resulted in lowering the cost of the project overall. It is important that African countries learn from African experiences around large dams.